Hello, I am here with Marianne Huhn, and we are having a conversation about her practice and her work. And I wanted to kick it off, Marianne, by asking you, what do you make, and why do you make it?
Hi, Amy. I'm Marianne. Yes, I am. I make functional porcelain ware with surface narratives. I think that's what I'm pretty much known for. That's what I like to do. I like to draw on the surface and make functional pieces with porcelain.
Yeah. And how did you get to this point in your life? Like, what's been the journey up until now? Briefly.
Well, it's a bit hard, isn't it? I think as far as ceramics, how did I get here? I think for me, I have always been a maker. So I like to make things. And going back wherever in my childhood, I was always making things, and that's something that gave me a lot of pleasure and a lot of satisfaction. So I continue to do that today. And I make functional pieces because I really want people to engage with the forms.
And
So I think I'm just a maker.
totally. What in all different mediums earlier on you were?
Well, I've always drawn. Yes, I have always drawn. And can you remember the Curiosity Show when? Oh, it's probably a while back. Anyway, they used to make things, and I always remember making a pair of shoes. And I loved it. I thought it was really cool. They were completely uncomfortable, but but it was really cool. So yeah, I've forgotten the question, Amy.
Yeah. Oh, the things that's totally fine. The things that you used to make and
Oh, have I always made? Yeah. I've always drawn. Yeah,
yeah.
I've always drawn. That's right. Thank you. I've always drawn. And when I did my TOP, I discovered the wheel and clay. Yeah. And making functional pieces just with clay, making anything out of clay was the best thing for me to do. So I kept on doing it.
Yeah. And perhaps some people listening won't know what TOP is. What's
Oh, okay. So instead of finishing year 11 and 12 at high school, you could go to a TAFE course and do tertiary orientation practice or something. I can't remember the word actually, but and it was like an equivalent of TOP, but equivalent of year 12, year 11 and 12, but it was I did the TOP art. So I did a little bit of printmaking, a little bit of photography, a little bit of painting, and a little bit of ceramics. And that's where I found printmaking and ceramics. Yeah. And then I went on to RMIT. Yeah.
Oh, so pretty early on, as a young adult, you discovered that, and then from TOP straight into RMIT.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did.
A young thing.
I was a dedicated person. I am a dedicated person, as you know. Well, I have to be dedicated. I use porcelain. So yes, I pretty much decided that that's what I wanted to do. I thought this was the way that I understood the world, through art. Yeah. And making things for me helped me work things out. Just helped me see the world, and it made sense. Just all made sense. So I stuck with it. And I was really lucky. I had a lot of support. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Did your family sort of support you and your peers? That was something that was
well, my parents, my mother supported me, and I worked as a cleaner for a very long time. But also I had a lecturer, Kevin White, who helped me all the way through. I remember the interview I had with him in 1987. So I started at RMIT in 1988, and on and off, back and forth to RMIT, and finished the PhD in 2016 with Kevin White, and then he retired. So he was really the biggest influence and supporter of me. Yeah.
Oh,
It was fabulous. He taught me so much. I am forever grateful. Yeah.
wow. And so you remember the interview just going,
Yes, yes, I remember the interview. Yes, I had, I had really daggy pieces with really daggy glazes on them. And it was like, which is bizarre because I never use glaze. Um, and he said, oh, you know how to throw, you'll be right. So off I went. Yeah.
oh. And so how long was that relationship then from that interview to the end of the PhD when he retired? Is that a
That's a
decade?
long time. That's a long time. But the funny thing was that we lived in the same street. So I was also his babysitter. We used to go home, we used to see each other on the tram and, walk down the street. Oh, see you, Kevin. It was really familiar.
Yeah.
I was really lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And as a teacher and a mentor, what do you think the main things what do you think the impact of his teaching and mentoring on you were, reflecting on that?
Well, I think the sense of form really, and the aesthetics, his aesthetics really, he was really heavily influenced by the Japanese teacher that he had in Japan when he did his training. And a lot of that really, he's passed that down to me. And I've just been so lucky that he's taught me such a refined and skillful way of doing things, to the point now where he would always say to me, oh, you'll get to here, oh, you'll get to here, oh, different milestones of throwing or firing or turning or whatever. But in actual fact, all of those things have come to fruition. So I can throw a pot now where I don't have to turn it. And like Kevin said that to me probably 10 years ago, and I got there. So he's taught me a lot of things all the way through, and it's he's passed on his knowledge very generously to me. Yeah, so it's been great.
Yeah, and when you finished your undergraduate, it's a big step to go into a PhD. So
So I did my honours and my masters in between.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yes.
Yeah. You got to do your honours and your masters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did my honours straight after. Then I had a break. Then I did my masters part-time. Then I had children. And then I did my PhD. I think I started in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, 2012. I started, and I got a scholarship just fantastically, and did it in the 4 years. Yeah.
Wow.
It was great.
Yeah. And did you do it? You worked from your studio at home there, or did you have a studio on campus as well?
No. I have a studio. I had a studio at the back. I'm just pointing to it at the back, and I worked from there. But Amy, it was like it's a dialer shed. It's a small studio. Now I'm in the house, so I took over a bedroom.
That's what happened.
But yeah, I did work from, and you just have to go in all the back and forth, maybe once a month, every few weeks or something, to see the supervisors and try not to cry when they read your writing.
And so just on the logistics of the PhD, do the supervisors ever come to your studio?
Yes, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, Kevin came a lot. And I had Keely Macro as well. And she's from RMIT. I'm not sure if she's still there now, but yeah, she came a few times too. Yeah.
But what made you sign up for a PhD? It's no mean feat, it's a huge investment. But did you have an idea for what you wanted to do?
Well, I have always loved this period of art called Russian Revolutionary ceramics. And it's the agitation and propaganda porcelain from the Communist Party. And I don't know, I didn't know anything about it. And I thought if I had the opportunity, that's what I would do. And honest to goodness, Amy, I really didn't expect to get approved, but it did. And so I ran with it. Yeah. So, and I wanted to find out all that I could. And it's such a small period of ceramic history, and really not a lot of people know about it. It's not broadly written about. There was maybe one or two people who have written books about it. So it was a big topic, really. It was a big challenge. Yeah.
Why didn't you think you would get approved?
Amy, really, I mean, you have fantasies and you think, oh yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? But I think sometimes one of the really strong elements of being an artist is having a lot of self-doubt. And I'm, no stranger to that. So that's why I didn't think I'd get approved. I mean, really.
Well, and you got approved, and then obviously, Amy, obviously, and you mentioned writing before, and maybe going in and crying about the writing. What role did writing have in your PhD?
Okay, so there's different ways you can do a PhD. There's coursework, there's the whole thesis where it's 100,000 words, but RMIT do the practice-led research. So you've got to write 40,000 words and do a body of work. But you also have to write about that body of work as you're doing it, and that's part of your exegesis, they call it. So writing about what you're doing and what you're thinking and what you're creating and doing your research at the same time, that's what the writing was all about. And that's what happened. And somehow it all pulls together. And I only got an editor at the very end, and she pulled the last paragraph chapter together, and I went, I'm not joking, Amy, don't laugh, right? I went, oh my God, that's what the PhD's about. Not really, but she said it so succinctly. I knew all this stuff, but she put the last paragraph together so beautifully. I went, oh, that's fabulous. Yeah. But writing is not my strength. It never was. I've never written before, ever. But the practice of having to do it every day and having to do what I started called a diary in the making. And when I started that, when I started writing about what I was making, what it made me think of, where it came from, what ideas I had, and what was actually happening when I did it, which was really quite challenging. When I started that, then I found my voice. But it took 4 years.
Yeah. Diary in the making, was this a framework that they supplied you, Marianne, or was it
No, I just made it up.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, it's good. Making. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, my family can attest to it. Kevin said you have to have a weekend, and I went, really?
Wow. And just on the writing too, because it's something that I'm really interested in as well, is you came up with this framework, diary in the making. Do they guide you or give you questions or prompts towards the writing, or it's just an open expanse of you determine how you're going to do it?
Yeah, by coursework, they give you a bit more direction.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot more direction. But practice-led research was completely up to you because it's your practice.
Yeah. And you had to. Why were you crying?
Oh, because Gilly's a really hard taskmaster. And I get my sentences around the wrong way. So I always say, well, I can't remember, but I always get them around the wrong way. I can't remember what it is, but anyway, she was always making my sentences go back to front, and I'd get so confused and upset. But a friend of mine said when I was doing the PhD, writing is a craft, and you have to practice it, and it's a process, really. So once I took that on board, I went, okay, so words are like clay. I can mold them. I started to see the language as something that I could manipulate. Yeah, it was really nice. It was a nice way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it.
Mm.
Is it something that you continued after the PhD, Marianne? Is it something that you do
Yes, I
now?
do. And I like writing now. I enjoy it a lot. I think a lot before I write. I think maybe, if something's in my mind, it takes a while to come to really get out into my fingers and onto the keyboard. But I do like to write, yeah. And thank you for prompting me to write the article about disability and creativity. So I hope that will go forward and be published soon. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. In the
So
Journal of
that was really
Entertainment.
nice. Thanks.
Oh, well, you wrote it's so beautiful. So we've got to give people a bit of a backstory. Is we met. Don't know if you remember when we met. We met at Northcote Pottery Supplies when I was working there in the
Yeah, you
education
asked me to
department.
come to do a workshop. Yeah.
Masterclass.
Oh, masterclass. Sorry.
And we sort of met there, and then I found out a bit about your background and PhD, and then we hung out every so often,
Yeah.
and then you got in touch about residencies and
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and the accessibility issue of residencies. Can you
Yeah.
share a bit more about why that is important to you? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So I've had MS now for about I think 15 something years maybe, which affects mainly my legs. So my right leg has had a lesion on my spine. So I now drive with my left leg, and I use the wheel with my left leg. So I've got that direct drive thing, so the pedal goes on the other side. And so I was, as a practicing artist, I'm interested in residencies and have done a few residencies before. But I was really challenged to find any more that would work with my particular disability. So I contacted you, and you gave me Josephine, was it? The res artist person? Yeah, so we met and caught up, and she said, oh, it's funny that you should meet me now because we're having a conference in London. So they had a conference in London this year about disability and artist residencies, and it was really interesting. I listened to lots of, not lots actually, a few YouTube channels, things, that cast it. And there was a whole lot of disabilities out there. It's not just wheelchair, there was vision, hearing, all sorts of things. And it really opened my eyes up to, well, I feel really uncomfortable and self-conscious saying I have a disability, and I do need somewhere that has wheelchair access. But I think the world is slowly starting to get better at recognizing difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what prompted me to contact you about the res artist, finding places that I could go that were okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's pretty slim pickings. Would that be?
Well, there's like 500, just say there's 500 residencies and there's 70 for wheelchair access.
Yeah. And I mean, in Australia,
No, that's global.
Oh, yeah, that's global. Yeah, but in Australia, it probably wouldn't even be.
No, there's 2, I think, maybe. I'm not 100% sure about that, Amy. I know there's something in Tasmania, but I can't remember which one it was. And I know the one I went to in Canberra Potters, that had disability access and accommodation.
Yeah.
So that was great. I did that.
Yeah, can you tell us just a little bit about that residency? You know, what you did there and how it sort of operated and.
Yeah, sure. So most of the all of the residencies I've done have included teaching and workshops or masterclasses, as you say. And so teaching has been a strong component in them. But what I did at Canberra was I had 2 masterclasses, and then I had to do an outreach program of teaching like a few sessions, like 5 or 6 or something. And I chose the MS art group, which was really cool. And then I had my own studio there, and Andreas, my partner, stayed with me so he could help me with shopping and stuff like that. And I think that was your question. What did I do there?
Yeah, what did you make there? Did you have?
Well, I decided, it was interesting, actually. I like to use the residencies not only for teaching and workshopping, but to experiment. So I started experimenting with hand building. Yeah. So, and of course I met Julie Pennington there, and she gave me lots of tips.
Yeah, she's very good.
She's good. And I've embraced hand building and throwing now as a result of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How long were you there for?
I think it's 3 months. Yeah.
And you recommend that residency?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was really good. They're such a lovely group. They're fantastic. And Richard runs it, and he's brilliant, really. It's fantastic community, and it's a beautiful spot. I mean, I love Canberra.
Yeah. And so the article that you wrote, I had the pleasure of reading the article, and you are a beautiful writer. When this article is published, please it'll be the next issue of Australian Ceramics, and I'll put a link in.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, now that we've recorded this, you have to publish
it.
But I'll put a link when we get the information. I'll add the link into the show notes, and
okay.
But also, please read go to Marianne's website. The link will also be in the show notes, because your artist statement and how you write about yourself is really fantastic. It's just so, for me, it's so, you just hit the essence of things, and it's very fresh. And that will help me segue into my next question is going back to I'd like to hear a bit more about the work that you make, because one thing that I loved reading about in your statement on your website is how you describe the differences of the different porcelains that you use. Can you tell us?
So I use Limoges porcelain, which is a French porcelain, but like I think Vipu said a while ago, probably doesn't actually come from France anymore. I think they've used up all their resources. But Limoges porcelain, the porcelain that I have is like butter. So when you're drawing on it, it's very receptive, and you can do anything on it. Yeah. In the surface, but throwing, it is like butter. And it's quite hard to, well, you know, I do handles in summer. So it's temperamental and it's very soft. And I do an Australian porcelain. I think it's a Walker's one. And that's like what I said in the website is tasty cheese. So it's got a bit more, it's not grit. I don't use porcelain with grit because it's too rough when I'm drawing. But yeah, the Australian porcelain holds much better. Yeah.
Marianne, why handles in the summer? Why not in the winter? I would think handles in the winter.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, you're right, Amy.
Oh yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah, because everything dries really slowly. That's what I want. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank
That
you.
makes sense.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, because I remember a project at TAFE with porcelain, hand building little cups, and we had to put a handle on them. And you'd come back in an hour later the next day, or even after the firing, and there'd be ding, it'd just be off the pot like that.
So Limoges, Kevin told me ages ago when I started Limoges, he said, be careful, it's got a memory. Oh, this is really interesting. And I went, memory? What are you talking about? And he said, it's got a memory. And I thought, but it actually remembers what happens to it when it came off the wheel. So if I take it off the wheel and I move it and it goes slightly oval, it will go back to that shape in the firing. I mean, that is simplified a lot, but it does have a memory, and it holds its memory in its body, which is just such a metaphorically beautiful thing for me. I really like the fact that this medium has like an essence of a sort of a person.
Totally, yeah. And
nice.
And you have to handle it so thoughtfully.
Well, you just got to be aware of it, really. Yeah.
And so you throw this butter on the wheel, which is a miraculous in itself. And then what's your next step in terms of how you treat the surface and what you want to do on the surface?
Okay. So I treat the surface with you know, the scourer sponge you get in the kitchen. You got yellow on one side, green on the other. So I get the green bit and I scour it and rough it up. So it's like it's like a bumpy watercolor piece of paper. And then I'll pencil, draw, and then I'll scratch with a really it's sort of like a zinc plate or like an etching. So I'll scratch into the body of the clay and experiment with the depth and the angle of the sharp tool. And, you know, I'm really drawing on, but it's a three-dimensional form, which, you know, takes a long time to practice to get there. But I'm still going. You know, I still have so much to experiment with the drawing on the surfaces. But as far as what I want to do on there, it's interesting. I have narratives that I have done for a very long time, but because they have gone over time, they've changed meaning, which is really interesting. So I used to do a narrative called Boundaries, and it was about houses. You know, houses have boundaries. There's an inside and an outside, which relates to the form. And I like that language between the narrative and the form. And I used to do maps and fences and things like that because I had teenage boys, twin teenage boys. And boundaries were really, really important. You know, knowing it's okay to go this far and that's it. You know, you got to know where your boundaries are. But for me now, when I'm still doing that drawing, and it means something else now, It means that and my perspective has changed too. So all of a sudden I'm drawing rooftops from the top. I'm not doing the houses. I'm looking from a different perspective and I'm going, well, actually there's a fluidity there. There's a different point of view. So things change with the way my life changes. And I can interpret things, in different. It's a very long story, sorry.
No, it's great. It's great.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but
And
I like drawing a lot, and I like referring to the form, and different words mean different things, and so words are really a link as well. I use a lot of text. Yeah.
yeah. And
So I
did,
write about my work in the sketchbook too. Yeah.
yeah. And has text always been an element of your work, Marianne, or did it sort of slowly emerge somewhere along the line?
No, I remember doing it in my honours year. I started doing playing cards in my honours year, and I started playing with text on the shapes then. And that's when Kevin introduced me to the Russian revolutionary ceramics, because there's a lot of text on that. I mean, Russian text, of course, but there's a lot of text. Yeah.
Do you have that book? That book?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, yeah.
Could you
I've
hold it
got,
up? Yeah.
yeah. I've got this one. Hang on, I can't. How can I change the picture? Oh, I know. I got to. Yeah, I've got that one.
Yeah. Revolutionary ceramics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll just show you the text one. That's probably not the text one, but I want to show you some pictures anyway.
Oh yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah. Can you hold it back just a little bit? And then it will come into focus a bit better. Yeah.
Not really, does it?
Well, and but
Not
what I
really
can
in
do is
focus.
actually I'll get you to take some after we finish. You can take some snaps and I can add them
Yeah,
to
sure.
the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
But very graphic, striking.
Yes, it is. Yeah. There is one. I can't find it. Anyway. You see that?
Yeah, see that well.
Yeah. So a lot of plates like that. But yeah, that's then Kevin referred me to this when I was in my honours year. And so that really connected to me, the text in that. And I've just continued to play with letters and fonts and different things like that for a long time. Yeah.
And as you said before, it was such a specific time frame, that Russian revolutionary ceramics. What are your main takeaways from what you learnt about that? And yeah.
Well, it was 1917 to about 1924 that I studied specifically. And what I took from that were two things, really. The first one being that objects can play a big role in history, and how objects mean more than just function that we use every day. They actually have a greater meaning than that. And the second thing I learned was that using, they used a lot of familiar forms because they were forms from the Imperial Porcelain factory. They were already blanks, So using familiar forms and familiar motifs, like there was a lot of folk art and there was a lot of what was currently happening in the environment, like suprematism came into it, constructivism, a lot of things that were in the air of the time. When you use those things, people instantly are familiar with them and gravitate towards them. So yeah, I learned that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to see some of these in real life?
Yes. So, well, I haven't been to Russia.
Not yet.
But you remember, what's that man's name again? That ran
Robert Bell.
That's it.
Yeah.
Took me to the back rooms in the gallery, the National Gallery of Australia. Is that right? And I remember almost putting my handbag on a Austrian light. He went, "Oh, I think you better move that." Anyway, so I saw some beautiful jugs, and there was a few plates from one of the women artists that I studied in the Russian Revolutionary. And there was some sets there. There were some cups and saucers that I had seen actually when I remembered when I was in the back rooms. I had seen this particular cup and saucer as a teenager, and it had stayed in my mind. So I think, even though things, come up, I think actually sometimes seeds are planted a very long time ago and can have an impact on you without you really knowing. And obviously that cup and saucer really did. Yeah.
You remember seeing that cup and
Yeah, I
saucer when you were a
do. Yeah, I
teenager?
do. I remember
Where
it really distinctly. I went through the gallery in Canberra at a school tour. When you go on camp at school. Yeah, and I remember the cup and saucer. And when I saw it, I went, "Oh,
oh my
it was
God.
really cool." Yeah. It was a
Wow.
suprematism piece. So it was like lots of grey and black shapes, and it was a cup and saucer. It was a beautiful cup and saucer. And they've got it. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. And
So I have seen some of the work, yeah.
yeah. And can people read your PhD?
Yes, they can. On Instagram, I've got the linked tree thing. And if you go to the linked tree, I've put the PhD on one of the things you press on. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, but really, it's a long read.
But this is probably piquing some people's interest, and that's great that it's so accessible, because sometimes I think, oh, they're in the back stalls of the library somewhere, but that's
No. I think RMIT has a research repository that you can access online. So you can read anybody's PhD from the RMIT school, not anybody's, but just RMIT people. Researchrepository.com or something. I don't know. Yeah.
And would you recommend to people to do a PhD?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think if I hadn't done my PhD, I think it helped me clarify my practice a lot, and helped me understand what it was that I did, that I do, and what I can do really well, and to leave bits behind that I'm not interested in anymore. So like for instance, teapots, never doing them again. But it helped me clarify that what I have to contribute as a maker and as a creator is really valuable, and it helped me believe in myself a lot more than I did.
Yeah. And what are you working on at the moment, Marianne?
Wow, Amy, thank you. At the moment, I'm teaching drawing classes online with the artist in residency part of a coaching practice for Amentis Co. And we do 6 weeks at a time drawing. So it's all about paper, posture, pencil. It's all about processes. It's all about being in the moment and being present with your drawing. So, and of course, for me, I don't know, can you see? There's not many pieces there, but there's all these little sources that I've started that nest inside each other, and I'm ready for the drawing. So, of course, and I'm teaching drawing, so I'm interested in mark making. Yeah.
Yeah.
So things like just looking at how marks are made. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And this is a guy called Emil Nold from German Expressionism. I really like his mark making. So I'm thinking a lot. See that?
Yeah.
It's a layers. I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. And then, you know, William Kentridge. The South African drawer, sculptor.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm up to drawing and thinking about lines and mark making now. Yeah.
Fantastic. You working towards, is there a deadline in mind, or it's creation time?
No, I don't really. When I'm ready, I'll look. Yeah. But I'm still I did a show in I think it was March, April, a group show with Paper Boat Press. And that was about text in ceramics, actually. So that was really nice, and I did a lot of work for that. So now I'm just coming back off, you know, like teaching and getting back to making and doing it again. So nothing yet. I'm not ready yet anyway. Yeah. When I'm ready, I look.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to do it. You know, well, there's many different ways to do this thing, but
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if people want to see your work, your Instagram and website's the best spots.
Yeah. So I've got some work, Beaver Gallery in Canberra represent me, and they have some work on their shelves too. And I recently just sent some work to Jam Factory in Adelaide. But my website has little bits and bobs too, whenever little experiments come out, which the nesting sources will probably be next in the next month. They'll be on. But yeah, Instagram or the website.
Yeah, please check out Marianne's website, because it's absolutely fantastic for the images of the work and her writing as well. And yeah, I think have we
I'm just checking, Amy.
we had
Have you done all the questions?
I think maybe I didn't cover them in the order we had planned, but I think
No, you did. No, you did.
Yeah, Marianne's work is distinctly, this is one I had, is it so distinctly your own work, Marianne? And you've created this obviously for decades and through the PhD, but do you think about that when you're making your work? Like, how can I make this my own, or it just sort of happens as you go deeper and deeper into it?
I'm not really sure how to answer that. How do I?
Yeah, are you consciously thinking, how can I make my work original and distinct, or it's just
No, I think in the beginning I did. I think in the beginning through undergrad, and you know, like for about probably I think Kevin said to me, things go in 10 years group in brackets, 10-year brackets. And I thought, what the hell is he talking about? But it sort of did. And I think in 10 years after the undergrad, I experimented a lot. And I really, I think that was a really important time. It's sort of like when you're in your 20s and you go out to lots of clubs and stuff and you experiment with who you are. So I think I did that with the clay and shapes and forms and my artwork as well, and with my surface work as well. You know, how I wanted to find out how was it that my mark could how I could develop it. Yeah. But the only way I could do that was through experimenting. So I think experimenting and really not knowing what you're doing is really important. Yeah. So, and I still have days where I got no idea what I'm doing, but instead, and this probably happened after the PhD, instead of going, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, this isn't what I want to do, I go, actually, that's a fantastic opportunity. What do I want to do? What do I like about that? What do I not like about that? So I give myself a little tutorial. And that's what I was talking to you the other day about, the gift of doubt. So the gift of doubt is actually a positive thing. So not knowing and experimenting and trying different things out, it takes a lot, that's a process. It takes time. And maybe it does happen in 10 years at a time, or maybe it happens 10 days, 10 weeks. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think over time I've developed through experimenting, yeah, and trying to find how it is my hand makes the mark, how it is that my forms are developed on the wheel, you know, and the refinedness and copying and trying things out. Took forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, oh, there's still so many things you want to do, you know, you
Yeah,
haven't
there
worked
is.
this
Yeah.
out yet. Yeah. The gift of doubt, I'm really glad that you reminded me about that, because it's real key, because often we want to know if it's going to work out, we want to know that end point, but it's actually it's a strength, you know, to have that and to be able to be okay with having that and use it to your advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it gives you an opportunity and it opens things up. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Marianne, for your
That's all
time
right,
today.
Amy.
I've absolutely loved talking to you, and I will have links to Marianne's online platforms in the show notes. Please check that out. And if you're not familiar with her work, there will also be some images coming right now that I'll put in there so you can see her beautiful work. And look forward to seeing you in real life down the track soon.
Yeah. I want to come to Tanger.
Oh, totally. Come up. Yeah,
Cool.
awesome. Thank you so much, and
That's all right, Amy.
I'll see you soon. Yeah, thanks
Bye.
everyone. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you soon. Say there, Mariani. That was fantastic.
Yeah. Can we do it?